Welcome to the narration of how the world was almost destroyed, the 1979 NORAD error. The US is under nuclear attack. November 1979. Deep inside NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, alarms erupt. Radars show hundreds of Soviet nuclear missiles inbound. The computer systems label it as a full-scale attack. In seconds, military commanders prepare retaliatory options. Nuclear bombers scramble. Crews run to launch sites. America is minutes away from firing back, triggering the end of civilization. Then someone notices something strange. The pattern looks too perfect. Turns out someone had accidentally inserted a training tape into the live detection system. The attack wasn't real. It was just a simulation tape that loaded itself into actual defense computers. A simple filing mistake came within minutes of starting World War III. The 1983 false alarm, one man saved the planet. September 26, 1983. Soviet early warning satellites detect 5 nuclear missiles launched from the US at protocol says the Soviets must retaliate immediately. No hesitation. The world is seconds from nuclear war. But the officer on duty, Stanislav Petrov, hesitates. He thinks, why would America attack with only 5 missiles? Why aren't ground radars confirming it? He assumes it's an error, and he's right. The satellite had misread sunlight reflecting off clouds as missile launches. Had Petrov followed orders, hundreds of millions would have died. Instead, he quietly logged it as a system error and never told his superiors that he had disobeyed protocol. One man's judgment saved humanity. The lost nuclear bomb that's still missing. 1968, off the coast of Greenland. A US B-52 bomber carrying 4 thermonuclear bombs crashes after a cabin fire spreads uncontrollably. 3 bombs are recovered. 1 is not. To this day, 1 nuclear bomb, capable of destroying a city, remains somewhere in the ice and ocean floor, unrecovered, unaccounted for. The military called it broken up beyond detonation, but internal documents later revealed the truth. They simply never found it. A fire extinguisher malfunction started the chain reaction. 1 faulty bottle, 1 bomber crash, 1 missing thermonuclear weapon. The 1961 Goldsboro incident. 2 bombs, 1 switch away from ending America. January 24, 1961. A B-52 breaks apart in midair over North Carolina. It's carrying 2 Mark 39 hydrogen bombs, each 250 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. When the bomber tears apart, the bombs fall. 1 slams into a field and digs 18 meters underground. The other deploys parachutes and goes through its arming sequence, arming itself mid-fall. Later, investigators discover horrifying details. 6 of the bomb's 7 safety devices failed. Only 1 tiny switch, valued at about $1, prevented detonation. A single switch prevented the US East Coast from becoming an uninhabitable crater. The 1995 Norwegian rocket, Russia, nearly launched a nuclear response. January 25, 1995, a scientific team in Norway launches a research rocket to study the Northern Lights. They had notified many countries, including Russia, weeks earlier. But the notice was never passed up the chain. Russian radar sees the rocket. Its trajectory matches that of a US Trident nuclear missile. Russia's nuclear briefcase is opened. President Boris Yeltsin puts his hand over the authorization switch. The first and only time a Russian leader prepared for an immediate nuclear retaliation. Minutes pass. Then Russian commanders realize the rocket isn't turning toward Moscow. A forgotten memo, nothing more, almost triggered nuclear war. The 1971 accidental nuclear alert. We are under attack. February 21st, 1971. The US emergency broadcast system suddenly activates nationwide. The message is chilling. This is an emergency action notification. The United States is under attack. TV stations prepare for presidential instructions. Broadcasters panic. Military bases move to readiness. But the White House never calls in. Nothing happens, because the entire alert was triggered by mistake. A technician pushed the wrong tape into the wrong slot during a routine test. For 40 minutes, America believed nuclear war had begun, all because someone grabbed the wrong card. The Mars Climate Orbiter, a $327 million loss over 1 unit. This one didn't threaten humanity, but it shows how tiny mistakes break big things. NASA loses an entire Mars probe because of a ridiculous error. One engineering team calculated thrust using imperial units while another team used metric units. As a result, the probe entered Mars's atmosphere at the wrong angle, disintegrating instantly. A mix-up between pounds and newtons cost $327 million in years of research. If a unit conversion can destroy a spacecraft, Imagine what it can do in nuclear defense systems. The 1962 Cuban Missile Radar Glitch. Wrong bird, wrong time. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, already the closest the world has come to nuclear war, NORAD radar detects a massive incoming attack from Cuba. Commanders brace for the worst. A few minutes later, the truth emerges. It wasn't missiles, it wasn't Cuba, it wasn't an attack, it was a flock of geese. A radar operator misread a formation of birds as Soviet missiles. Had cooler heads not double-checked the readings, that flock might have triggered a full nuclear retaliation. The 2007 nuclear flight, 6 live warheads misplaced. This one sounds impossible, but it happened. A B-52 bomber flew 1,400 miles across the US, carrying 6 nuclear cruise missiles, all of them fully armed warheads intact, and nobody realized it. The nukes were mistakenly attached to the aircraft and left unsecured for 36 hours. For 2 days, the Air Force didn't even know they were missing. 1 mislabeled rack, 1 rushed crew, 1 inspection skipped, and suddenly 6 nuclear weapons were flying across American skies without authorization. The 2010 Wrong Coordinate Nuclear Launch Test. In 2010, France ran a routine missile test involving nuclear-capable systems. Someone entered the wrong coordinates into the computer. The missile was programmed to hit a location. The test missile was unarmed, but the mistake showed a terrifying truth. The world's safety often depends on who typed the number into the computer that day. The Japanese train derailment, a speed limit typed wrong. In 2005, a commuter train in Japan derailed while rounding a curve, smashing into an apartment building and killing 107 people. During the investigation, the truth emerged. When the railway was digitizing speed data, an operator typed the speed limit incorrectly. A single number in the system was wrong, showing the curve was safe at a speed much higher than reality. Nobody caught the typo. 1 number entered wrong. 107 lives lost. The 1983 Korean Airlines Flight 007. 1 navigation digit wrong. September 1st, 1983. A Boeing 747 takes off from Alaska, headed for South Korea. But during takeoff, the autopilot mode is set incorrectly by 1 digit on the flight computer. That tiny mistake sends the plane drifting slowly, kilometer by kilometer, into Soviet airspace. Radar operators think it's a spy plane. Fighter jets scramble. The civilian aircraft is shot down, killing all 269 people on board. 1 wrong number and 1 navigation setting. It caused one of the deadliest aviation incidents of the Cold War. The 2018 Hawaii Missile Alert, a menu option with the wrong number. January 13th, 2018. People in Hawaii receive an emergency alert. Ballistic missile threat inbound. This is not a drill. Families hide in tunnels, bathtubs, parking garages. Drivers abandon cars on highways. People call loved ones, thinking these are their last moments. 38 minutes later, the truth comes out. A technician clicked the wrong menu option. The test alert and real alert were labeled almost identically, differing by 1 number code. 1 wrong click caused a statewide panic and almost triggered military responses.